All right, now the 3 terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir. The first one that happened just an hour before the Prime Minister of the country was to take oath for the 3rd term as the country's Prime Minister, were orchestrated to send out a message, and the message has been well intercepted, that Pakistan is rattled beyond belief, that it has once again Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government that has come to power in India. The last 10 years under Modi regime have been nothing short of frightening for Pakistan. Their army has been cut to size, that they have been forced to stop the ceasefire violations along the border. Article 370 has been revoked, sending out the strong message loud and clear to Pakistan and to the rest of the world that Kashmir is an integral part of India. Not to mention the increased security presence in Kashmir to foil terror attacks and neutralize Pakistan-based terrorists. Today, there are 0 stone pelting incidents. There is a crackdown on the extremists and separatists in Kashmir. There is growth and development and investment opportunities that are being brought in Kashmir. Pakistan, in fact, is hurting for its attempt to take Kashmir from India, and that has caused Pakistan to act out in the series of attacks that it has orchestrated. Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast is Major General G.D. Dwivedi. Sir, the fact that the incident, the Reasi incident happened, and after that 2 more successively in the next couple of days, is actually an example of the fact of Pakistan being unhappy, being frustrated and being rattled, that it is going to be Modi government that has come to power for the 3rd time around, and the next 5 years again become more and more difficult for Pakistan forces and the Pakistan-backed terrorists to attempt any kind of turmoil or terror attacks in the area of Jammu and Kashmir.
Well, Megha, the point is that Pakistan has been orchestrating the proxy war in J&K for last 3 decades. And I have followed this development very closely because for a good part of my service years, I was in this region, either north of Pir Panjal or south of Pir Panjal. The issue is that while Pakistan has been changing its tactics depending upon our response, whether it is the territory or the tactics or the level of insurgency or the level of militancy terrorism, but we have not been able to check Pakistan despite very tough measures taken by especially the Modi government in last 10 years, and major political initiatives and major political steps taken, but we have not been able to rein Pakistan. And the latest developments, for last about 3 years, the major instances have taken place in Rajouri, Poonch, and now in Reasi. I'll just like to recall in next 2 minutes how this situation has changed. In 1990, I was in this area. Reasi, Rajouri, Poonch were very active. And then suddenly the whole shift took place to north of Pir Panjal. And I commanded my brigade in Baramulla sector in that area. In fact, the LET flag was flying in Sagrama and Patan. And that was the situation. Again, there have been shift in Pakistan tactics, and now it is south of Pir Panjal. And in last 3 years, we have lost 38 soldiers and 11 civilians. All I can say is, while government has taken a number of steps, but we need to have a counter-proxy war doctrine to defeat these evil design of Pakistan, and that involves 3 basic factors. One is we have to fight the militancy and terrorism inside India, which number of steps have been taken, and they are yielding results. Second, on the LOC, I don't think this ceasefire is doing any good to us because Pakistan army cannot be punished, and they are the people who need to be punished. I think we need to review our now stance on the ceasefire on the line of control. And thirdly is inside. I think good deal of operations have been carried out. Until we get to the roots of these terrorists inside Pakistan, I don't think much difference will be made. So all I can say is we need to review our counter-proxy war doctrine against Pakistan. It has to be political, economic and military especially. We need to come very heavily on Pakistan government and also the funding. And lastly, the military operation need to be scaled up further. Megha.
Professor Madhav Nalapit, the fact that there is stability in the country with the 3-term Modi government and the kind of strong actions that have been taken by the Indian Defence Forces under the command of the Prime Minister, whether it was the Uri strikes or the Balakot strikes, was something that Pakistan did not want for India to have a third term of the BJP. And the coincidence of having the Reasi attack right before the oath-taking ceremony is something that Pakistan has expressed to this terror attack, that it is unhappy and rattled that once again India comes under the stable hands of the BJP government.
Well, there's no doubt that Prime Minister Modi coming back for a third term is bad news for both Pakistan as well as a country that is giving it very strong support, which was not there in the 1980s, and that is China. And both of them have an interest in ensuring that the attention of the Indian government get distracted to domestic issues. And that is why an intense effort is possibly ongoing in both Punjab and Kashmir to try and bring back the horrible situation that both states were in Punjab in the 1980s, Kashmir in the 1990s. Of course, the good news is that the people of Punjab and the people of Kashmir know very well the suffering that they endured during the 1980s and the 1990s as a consequence of this kind of terror operations, and they don't want to repeat that. So I think the first line of defense is the civilian population in Punjab and in Kashmir. And I think they need to basically, I'm sure they realize it, it needs to be made clear that there are forces at work that want to basically throw Punjab and Kashmir into the same cauldron of fire that both states were in as a consequence of cross-border terrorism. Having said that, I think General Dwivedi is absolutely right. I think there has to be a punishment for this kind of operation. And it is very clear there is an external hand in it. And therefore, I think, so far as activity is concerned, I think there needs to be, quote unquote, moral, diplomatic, and other support to forces in Pakistan who are looking for justice. Yeah. Whether the Sindhis or the Baloch or the Pashtuns or frankly, anyone else. Yeah. I think it's very important to ensure that India work very hard to ensure that justice is done in Pakistan to these underprivileged individuals, because the Pakistan military is controlled by one single region, one single province, and the others are frankly second class, third class, and fourth class citizens. That has to change, and India has got to help make that change.
B.L. Vora, the fact that, the terror attacks that used to be so many in number in Kashmir, and the focus has suddenly shifted from Kashmir to Jammu area, which was called to be the more peaceful area of the two regions. Now, on one hand, we see that the stone pelting incidents have completely halted. We see a complete overhaul where the youth are being given opportunities in universities and colleges and the armed forces and the Jammu and Kashmir police. We see that the overground workers have been, rooted out. We've seen that the separatists and the extremists have been exposed and put behind bars. Where we see Kashmir at this point of time is mostly uneventful, and there is investment, and there are educational institutions, and there is growth and development that we see in the area. On the other hand, now Jammu becomes a more vulnerable area where the Pakistanis are targeting via their terrorists who are being infiltrated with the support of the overground workers, with the support of these supporters and terrorists, local terrorists who are hand in glove with these foreign terrorists from Pakistan.
I agree with you, and not only with you, also with General Dwivedi and Professor Nalapat. The point is the objective of Pakistan, the strategy, and of course India's objective and strategy. The objective is very clear. The democracy in India, number one, should not be strengthened. They are unhappy about what happened at the central government level. Now they don't want at least assembly elections to be held, and that is one of their motives. Now, second is, of course, the strategy part, if we talk of it, because Kashmir is saturated with success and forces. and they found this is an area more vulnerable. I have also served in Jammu. I was IGBSF Jammu for quite some time. And terrain in these areas is very difficult, whether you talk of Doda and other areas and all. Now, when they found that they could not succeed security forces, they started attacking civilians. For example, the bus which was going to Vaishno Devi. So this is what they have done. The good news is that the two have been neutralized today. I think we have been reactive in this part of that state rather than proactive, because we did not think that any danger will be there. Now I think we'll be equally proactive. It will take a little time. It's a matter of time that I think we will have a hold over the situation. And Pakistan now, see, it's become irrelevant. It knows it. It's trying to become relevant somehow. Somehow it wants to do something. But I'm sure our security forces are competent enough to see that this doesn't happen.
Absolutely
now,
right.
And one thing more I want to say, I think under no circumstances the government of India should give in about elections. We must hold them. After the grand success we had in the parliamentary elections of the electoral, 54% people voted.
Yes.
I think I'm sure a large number of people will vote. It shows the confidence of people of that state in the new situation. So I think we must go on, but keep vigilance all the time and the borders and inside. Megha.
Absolutely. Utpal Kaul, one very important point made by BL Vora, the fact that, any opportunity for Pakistan to stay relevant, and we have taken that one agenda of Pakistan by abrogation of Article 370, declaring to the world and particularly to Pakistan's, Pakistan's irritation that Kashmir continues to be part of India, and it will always be an integral part of India. Now, that had been the agenda on which Kashmir had been rallying support of the OIC nations, rallying support of the Islamic countries, and even going to the United Nations and the other international fora. Now, that chapter is closed. Pakistan not having enough power to fight the forces along the line of control. There's no ceasefire violations that have been witnessed. Pakistan does not have the ability, and therefore taking this route of sending in terrorists. Kashmir is impossible to penetrate into, therefore it takes on the route of Jammu.
Megha, thank you very much for inviting me for this very important debate. First of all, let me have a very sincere condolence and our brave hearts and our civilians died. And I am so distressed, and whole of India is paying homage to all these brave hearts and also civilians. Let me tell you that ISI and Pakistan Army is in a deep coma because they were expecting something new will happen here. But when they saw that Narendra Modi ji's government has assumed the charge. And you must see when they started this terrorist attack, when it was oath ceremony was going on. So they tried, when the whole of nation is watching this fantastic ceremony in Rashtrapati Bhavan, and they started in Doda and in Reasi, they targeted bus. And I have to say that the brave, great driver, he saved many lives, including, he gave his life, and the conductor gave his life, but saved many lives. And ISI wants to become relevant in military, and military wants to be relevant in Pakistan, because Nawaz Sharif and Shahbaz Sharif both sent congratulations to Modi. And it's another agenda that this civil government should not have some kind of a negotiation with the government of India. But our stand is very, very clear. Modi ji's stand is very, very clear that let them stop this sending terrorists. They can send tourists here because Kashmir is shining. Nearly 3 million tourists have already come to Kashmir, and this is heartburners to Pakistan. Now, as Divedi ji was saying, that successful elections, 54 to 60%, 70% of voting in many constituencies, many places, in booths in Baramulla, in Srinagar, and in Anantnag. So what I want to tell you and to all people that we have to be proactive.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to make it sure that whosoever takes the gun, we will send him to hell. That must be the message from India. That must be the message from our security forces, our brave security forces, BSF, CRPF, and Indian Army are doing the great job and giving great sacrifice.
Okay, you made your point, sir. Coming back to you, Major General Dwivedi, the point I want to continue to emphasize is that this attack has begun on 9th of June. And once it has been made amply clear that it is going to be the NDA government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi that is going to form the government, that these series of attacks have happened. They have been very painfully, strategically, minutely orchestrated. That there 3 days are going to be the days where 3 attacks are going to happen in 3 different parts of Jammu. And the 3 different parts of Jammu are the 3 set of communities that have been attacked. Number 1 are the tourists who were traveling to Vaishno Devi. Number 2 were the local villagers who were living in Kathua. And number 3, from the army base is where the armed forces were attacked. So, the fact that this could be so well orchestrated, and in fact there is a foiled attempt that now finally has been revealed by the armed forces, that there was a major attack that had been planned in the coming days as well, which thankfully at this point of time has been foiled by the armed forces. But the fact is that these attacks have been lined up from the day that it became a decisive decision that yes, the NDA government is going to.
Well, Megha, absolutely right, because the terrorists or the militants, they have a well-planned operations, and they choose the targets, they choose the place, and also timing, because that's what is the proxy war all about, to give a very clear message. And this also is a messaging has been brought out by you and the other panelists, that they have chosen targets, they have timed it so as to give a very clear message. I'd like to make out 2 very important points. I was in Srinagar for a good few days in October, November, and yesterday only I was in Indian Institute of Management, Jammu, taking the faculty development program. The groundswell is very clear. As far as Valley is concerned, there is a marked improvement, and Pakistan does not have much opportunities or the terrorists on north of Pir Panjal. Now, south of Pir Panjal, Jammu, they don't have the local support, which is very important. Somehow they have made certain bases in the area of Poonch, Rajouri, and now in Reasi, which is a cause of concern. Therefore, I think military has to now focus on south of Pir Panjal, have a very strong grip, and in politically, I am sure Modi government is going to give a very political, hard reply to the Pakistani government that this is not going to continue, and therefore the red lines that were drawn to Pakistan will be recreated, and I am sure that with the political will, with the military operations and covert operations across, proxy war will be defeated in time to come.
Okay.
Thank you.
Professor Nalapat, then, there was a point that was raised by B.L. Voraji as well, the idea of holding elections, and as had been directed by the Supreme Court to do it before September 30th. Will the people of Jammu then get impacted because of these series of terror attacks whenever the assembly elections are to be held in the next coming months? I think we have about 3 months left now till the deadline given by the Supreme Court ends. Should the elections be held nonetheless?
Look, I would only like to make a point that that situation will become clear as soon as we reach into the about a month or month and a half before that particular period. But definitely elections are a good idea in general. There's no question about it. And one thing is very clear. Every legislator, every member of parliament has to swear an oath of loyalty to the union. to the Union of India, an oath to the Constitution. And that being the case, that oath cannot be legally broken. So I mean, elections is, I mean, definitely it is desirable. There's no question about it. But I'd like to say that I think that we need to have a very strong narrative on the way the Sino-Pakistan lobby is operating in Punjab and Kashmir. Now look at the way Khalistanis, I mean, I hate to call them, they're not Khalistanis. Khalistan is a very beautiful name for a very noble faith. They are basically satellites of the Pakistan military who are indulging in terrorism. They've been given a free run in Western countries. And similarly, there'll be an effort to give individuals in Western countries a free run who are up to no good in Jammu and Kashmir. So I think there has to be much stronger diplomacy with the Western countries, make it very clear that indulging in terror, violence is completely unacceptable, and those who do so in a friendly country such as India need to be brought to book rather than ignored and frankly, in some ways, protected. So I think that is a very, very important point because, look, I mean, we need to ensure that the message goes loud and clear.
Yes.
That terrorism is not acceptable to any country, to any part of the world.
Yeah.
And I think all governments abroad should understand this and should understand that India is very, very firm on this stand.
Yeah.
So I do believe very strong diplomacy also needs to be carried out. And I'm very certain under Prime Minister Modi's guidance, this will happen under External Affairs Minister Jaishankar.
B.L. Vora, what better message to send to your enemy nation when there are a large number of people coming out for the first time in decades to come out and vote for their representative in the Lok Sabha elections. You know, record number of people who came out in all the 3 constituencies of Kashmir, and that sends out a message. And a similar message will be sent out when assembly elections take place. And in all probability, I have full belief that there are going to be people who will come out in large numbers for the assembly elections as well.
I share your optimism, Megha. I'm sure elections will not be postponed. There's going to be good turnout. But talking of a couple of other points, I think ISI and army have deliberately done it there in Pakistan to undermine the Shahbaz brothers, both Nawaz Sharif and Shahbaz Sharif, because they are perhaps not liking their outreach to India. I think this is one point which I think is very, very relevant. Now, talking of our side now, we have already made, you know, the Hurriyat and all these people irrelevant. Internationally, the voice has become very feeble. OIC is not doing much. All the Arab world is with us. So Pakistan is isolated and keeps on talking and complaining about it also. So they're isolated. In fact, today, except for China, Pakistan has no friend at all. And I think these red lines drawn by us have rattled them. They don't know how to go about it. I think even if there's a good government in Pakistan, they can't do anything about it unless army comes on board. And army is not going to come on board, though the previous chief there, Bajwa, wanted to have talks with India. This gentleman who's presently there, he is not interested at all. So I think their efforts will not succeed, nor our efforts. So we have to be on guard. We have to keep on taking action. We must hold elections. And we must go full steam and ignore Pakistan totally. That's my view.
Okay, all right. Utpal Kaul, I have 30 seconds. If you could, you know, give your opinion with regards to elections, with regards to the relevance of Pakistan today when it talks about quote-unquote Azad Kashmir, which has completely been offsetted by abrogation of Article 370.
Megha, I think we have to give very, very strong messaging to Pakistan and diplomacy on one side, but most important is something should be done which will it will be cost effective to Pakistan. They must pay for it. And Kashmir will have a wonderful, Jammu Kashmir will have a election, and no doubt about it. And people will, this time it was national election, but I assure you, it will be 70 to 80% people will come to vote. And that is heartburn to Pakistan. And we have to tell them that if you don't stop, and we are very, very serious to go inside the, what we call as Pak occupied Kashmir.
Okay.
We have to, because we are waiting for last 40 years. They have done it in Punjab, they have done it in Kashmir, now Jammu and other places.
Yeah.
So it is, we have to give strong messaging to them.
Absolutely. All right.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.